Hi, and good morning and good afternoon and good evening. I can see a lot of people coming into this webinar, and I suspect there'll be people continuing to join for the next few minutes. So I'm Sarah McCrum, and I'd like to welcome you all to this webinar, which is on a very special day. It's the first time we've done this. It's on the last day of the Chinese year of the Earth Dog, which is last year, so to speak. So tomorrow will be the first day of the Chinese year of the Earth Pig. So we're really doing this on the last day to prepare you for this new Chinese year. And Aleksandra will explain a bit more about that in a moment. So first of all, I'd like to check, just if a few people could give me, okay, I can see that you can hear me now. So that's good. Aleksandra, I'd like to introduce Aleksandra Dorann, who has done a webinar like this every year for the last 5 years. It's been extremely accurate, and now people ask me about it all through the year. And when the new year's coming, they say, when's it going to be? When's it going to be? Because so many people have relied on it to help them to understand the energy of the year. So Aleksandra has many years of experience with Chinese metaphysics, both learning it and teaching it in different countries. And she is the best person that I found doing this. And so I'm really, really happy to be able to introduce you again, Aleksandra, to this very large group of people who are so interested to learn about the energy of the year that's coming up. Oh, you're on mute.
So, good evening. I mean, here is the evening. At Sarah's place is the morning. So in Europe, it's still 2 days before the new year. But anyhow, very quickly we will be just 1 day before the Chinese New Year. I'm very glad to be having this webinar again. I found it my great pleasure that I can share the knowledge and my view and understanding of this very sophisticated system and method that can be of a very good help to variety of people. So it doesn't matter how much you do understand Chinese metaphysics. Some of you probably are a bit already quite familiar. Some of you might be new. I will try to make it easy for every one of you. So I know the last year, the year of the dog, Earth Dog, was quite challenging or demanding or slow or heavy or boring or all kinds of things. And the thing is that maybe we still feel that energy because the shift is just happening. Usually, as Sarah said, we never do it on the exact change. And that's exactly the reason why, because every one of us can feel the shift, and the shift is always a bit of a shock. So anyhow, I will guide you into new energies of the coming year and introduce you to the what I call Jihai or Earth Peak year. So let me share the screen. So as Sarah mentioned, every year Chinese New Year starts on February 4th. That's solar, because it's based on the solar calculation. So it's like a fixed date, although the celebration of Chinese New Year is based on lunar calendar, which falls every year on a different date. By this year, in the year 2019, it falls on February 5th. So we are very close, and we can very soon start to celebrate it all together. So, as I said, because some of you are new, some of you need a little bit of refreshment, I will make a very short introduction to 5-element system that is actually all this knowledge of Chinese metaphysics is based on 5 elements and on yin yang principle. So then we will look at the earth peak nature, whatever that means. It's about the character of the earth peak, or let's better say the energy that the earth peak has. Then we will look further and check the influences on world events. Then we will look at the spiritual aspect of it. Then we will look at the health area of life, business and different industries, and as well, always popular relationships. So, 5 elements. When we talk about 5 elements, we talk about wood, fire, earth, metal, and water. There, all of you know it from nature, but actually, this metaphor is used to describe 5 energies. So everything you see, everything you do, everything you sense, everything you feel, and so on, falls under one of the 5 elements. And there is specific relation between each of the element with another elements, and we call it 5 element cycles. We have controlling cycle, supporting cycle, and weakening cycle. We will not go much into it, but just to understand that elements and, let's say, energies are influencing each other in a very particular way. So then in Chinese astrology, majority of people, I guess there is not a single person that I ever met that wouldn't know the year, the animal they were born in. So these 12 animals, and every baby that's gonna be born after the February 4th this year is gonna be an earth peak. So born in the year of the earth peak. But the animals are not really the animals. They're again just like something we know from the nature. And actually they as well have 5 elements differently combined within themselves. So we have 5 elements and 12 animals. So each animal could be, like I said, we will have an earth peak, but it could be a fire peak, it could be a metal peak, wood peak, or I don't know which one, I forgot. So anyhow, it takes 60 years that the earth peak or the one particular animal combination with an element would repeat. And the last earth peak year was in 1959. And the next one, we have quite some time, is in 2079. So as you see, it takes quite a while. So it's a very, very special year. Each year is very special because we need 60 years to repeat the cycle. So whoever was born on 1959 after February 4th, this year is celebrating his or her 60th birthday, and the full cycle has passed. So, as I said before, there is an element and there is an animal, but animals also carry within the elements. So every year we get a different combination of elements. And as you can see, I already made it a little bit more obvious with the colors. We've been for 5 years. 5 years. There was no water present in the year annual energies. So after 5 years that we had very strong fire, we are entering a period where the water becomes stronger, to not say very strong. So this is a big change. For example, the year 2016 and the year 2017 didn't feel that different in the energy sense, in the elements. As you can see, they were both fire and metal. Of course, there are yin and yang poles. And then the last year, we had also addition of the earth, but there was still fire and metal. So we already can maybe all feel that the water came back after 5 years. So actually, although the year starts tomorrow, we can feel the rise of the energy of the earth peak already from November on. So maybe you already noticed there are some kind of changes. But don't worry, the dog is still here. So at the same time as we could feel the peak. So as I said, yin earth is on the top. So it's earth peak, and on the top we have actually yin earth. There's a difference between the yin earth and yang earth. Last year was all about yang earth. You remember, it was yang earth on the top and yang earth on the on the bottom. So it was like two mountains, and I describe it as a mountain range, one peak after the other. And this year it's yin earth. Yin earth, it's a soil, is sand, is not like a mountain. And then we have yang water. So the peak contains the element of yang water, which is an ocean, and a part of energy of wood. Yes, that's the image of the Earth peak year. It's a tropical island. Yay, for those who like it. So let's see, it's the atmosphere, the energies are changing quite a lot. So in the wood goat year in 2015, you can see the image that I used. It's like also, because the goat is in earth and a tiny grass bending in the wind. And then the next year was fire monkey year, so the year 2016, which was represented by a huge big city with the sun shining on it. And the year 2017 was best described as a star on the western sky, which is Venus. And then the last year, as I already mentioned, Earth Dog year was about Rocky Mountain, climbing the mountains. So what a huge change. What a huge twist from a mountain area where it's very hard to climb, there are bad conditions, very demanding. You reach one peak and then you realize, oh, there's another one and another one. And everything goes slow. And when we describe the energy of the mountain, it's very static. It's something that doesn't go away. So either you find a way to go around it, or you have to climb it. But it's there. Everything takes slow. There is no shortcuts. While as you see, the Earth peak year is this beautiful tropical island. So much easier the way it looks more. Okay. Yes. Actually, I would like to go one back. So it is kind of a flip between the last year, having all these high mountains, rocky, nothing is growing, everything is hard. Now we're suddenly in this island where everything is growing, it's warm, it's pleasant, there's a lot of food, fruits and fish, and it's very nice. So in Tarot, the year of 2019 is represented by a hanging man, which is like a man that is hanging, not in a bad way, but he has a rope around his legs and he is upside down, looking at the world upside down. And this is exactly what is happening. Suddenly we see the world upside down. I will talk about it. As you see, it's a big change. Also, the way the energy feels. So, still, as I said, the energy of the peaks start coming in a way already a little bit in August, but more so in November. So we could already feel that suddenly things start moving before they looked like they will never ever move again. But the dog, you know, if you have a dog, it's very very hard to just tell them, okay, you wait now, I'm busy, I have to do my stuff. It's like keep on following you, keep on trying to have attention, keep on begging you for something, or keep on. So the the dog doesn't doesn't give up. So we still feel the dog probably even till today. And the both energies at the same time are making things in a way even more challenging because they are so different. As I was describing the yang earth energy, and now all this water, although it's a yin earth water, the water is much stronger energy in the earth peak. uh, so suddenly, what water represents? Water is all about movement. Water is never really still. If not, if it looks still, it will still be evaporating. So it's always moving, always finding a way. It doesn't wait. If you imagine the river, because yang water can be a lake, can be an ocean, can be a river. It's a huge amount of water that is always moving. And whenever it looks calm, you know that it keeps a great strength in there. And we know that when this strength comes in a form of tsunami, even the mountains get shaken. So the dog will have to prepare. So are us, uh, as you see on this photo, because it's time to get in a flow. Whoever doesn't want to flow will suffer. It's very hard to hold on to things. So I will describe now the character of Earth Peak. So whoever is born in an Earth Peak year or have it somewhere else in the chart, many of you are familiar with your charts. You can, so it's even more so if you are born on the day of the Earth Peak. But nevertheless, when I'm describing the character of Earth Peak, it's actually describing the energy as well. It's not just about people born on that day, but this is the atmosphere we are entering. So the good news, the Earth Peak is generous, is honest, is merciful, is optimistic. Actually, I wanted to write always optimistic because it's unbelievable how Earth Peak have this constant, oh yeah, we can do it. Oh yeah, there's a way. Oh yeah, no, but let's try like that. No, don't worry. No, oh, restrictions, no way. Oh, we will find a way. So it's like even a bit over optimistic. So they're very friendly, very interested in people, very curious. On the other hand, also very family orientated. They like to work. People have idea, you know, there's, oh yeah, the pig. So in every culture, there's another attitude about the pigs. In many cultures in Europe, they consider them good for money. In some others, they find them dirty or lazy. But actually, in Chinese understanding, they're very respected animals. So they like if the child is born on the year of the pig, because it means it will take care of the family. It will like to work. And as you see somewhere there, if you already read it, there are money magnets. So they like to work, but they don't focus on money. They just like to work. But somehow money loves them. That's interesting. So, and they love all the good things in life, and which is good food, everything good of a quality. But usually they never like to be alone. There's always, as you see also in the picture, whatever picture I was looking, it was very hard to find just one pig on the picture. So there's always a lot together. And I hope I don't offend anyone into just talking about the pig, but this is really just a metaphor for the energy that this year is bringing. So, and they do appreciate art, and I talk now particularly about the earth pig. So they like to work, money comes easy to them, they appreciate art, and they love all things good. On the other hand, they're very family and friends orientated. So everyone has, I told you, I said before, so is yin yang. So we always have good and bad, what we usually say, but nothing is good, nothing is bad. We like the balance. So the other side, what is with earth pigs is that they can be rather naive. They believe every word because they're very honest. They think everyone is honest like them. Uh, so people take advantage of them easily because they're very open. They share everything, they give time or whatever needed. I use the word clumsy, but somehow they're so eager about life. They're so active all the time. They're so curious that every now and then some strange things happen to them. So I said accident prone, which means like I haven't met a person. So if I have a reading and I see that the person have a strong big aspect in the chart, I always know that they had at least 2 to 3 um, obvious accidents in life. But somehow these things pass by easy for the earth pigs. And I wrote temper issues. So how does it go? They're kind, generous, friendly, and then they have temper issues. They can be at time, let's say, overprotective or too focused on their people or that my family, my community is doing good. And when things go wrong, they can be quite angry. But as I said before, very quickly they forget about it. They're very forgiving. So I'm just. So the year 2017 was the year of the rooster, and it was, if you remember, it was the star in the sky. So it was announcing the light coming. So before the rise, showing the way. And then we had a dog year, hopefully going away, leaving us alone. It was a lot of digging and clearing up and making structure and making new fundaments. And we had a chance to reinvent whatever we're doing or check what we don't need, what we do need, get rid of everything that was not good enough to keep. And so the year of Earth Peak is about new growth. So finally, the water comes in after all these 5 years. And there is, I said, a bit of the wood. So this is like a preparation for the start of the growth and expansion in that sense. And that's why, how nice, we can say this is a year of abundance. And I would say also a year of consciousness. of course, things don't. Everything sounds so perfect, so good. It really is, but of course, it doesn't happen over the night just like that. That's why we have this webinar, to understand how to approach things that we can experience the year of the abundance. If you imagine an island in the ocean, there's really ocean of opportunity, ocean of abundance. So it's like about receiving. It's allowing yourself to receive. So let's look. The question is, yes, let's talk about abundance. Abundance is good, everything is great, the pig is happy, and so on. But the thing is, we have all. So it's really about what is abundance? Having all, unlimited. It's here. If you imagine the ocean is really unlimited, everything we can, let's say, if this is an ocean of abundance, we just have to receive. But all is here or is there? What did I mean when I wrote that? Is this just the idea, like what our life, what do we need, what do we like, what does it matter, what does matter to us, what does our soul want, what is our potential? So we have all this opportunity and maybe even an idea how it should be, but do we live it or we just feel it, it's somewhere there. So as you see on this photo, this beautiful island paradise is there with all the nice opportunities, but we have to swim. So it's like literally when all this water comes in, which you're probably feeling, all you have to do is swim. So whoever doesn't like the idea of a very fast changes, a lot of things going on at the same time, so much this, that, the other thing, whoever cannot follow, whoever is not quick enough will get very emotional, because water also represents, among other things, emotions. So are you going to swim? Do you know where you are swimming? Are you afraid when the things start moving? Do you want to hold on to old patterns, old ideas? Then it will be quite hard to reach the abundance state. But don't worry, because the water flows, it's in a way just to keep balance, like float. And once you get there, it's all about, let's say, party, fun. It's about socializing. It's about others. It's about meeting others. So it's very rich in contact, in connecting. So what I'm trying to say, if you have a feeling that this water comes in and is flushing you somewhere and you have no control, the rule is just relax, go with the flow. Trust that you are coming exactly where you want it to come. And there is a lot to do. And just remember, seriously, this year is about joy and fun. And yeah, I can hear, yeah, we still have to work and all these kind of things. And yes, but that's the thing. If you can work with the awareness of an understanding that work can be joy, if you can do all the things that are, let's say, annoying with joy, even if it's washing the dishes, and if you allow yourself to enjoy the now, the here and now, then you will start to experience the abundance of the year, because everything is here for us. We just have to know how to receive it. We just have to allow it to happen, allow it to come. So if you remember, those who listened the last year, I said that it's a year of a new way of manifestation. And actually, it looked like a very slow year and nothing really happened in the end. But the year of Earth Peak is the end of the cycle of 12 animals. The peak is the last animal, it came the last. So it means the reward time. That's why it's such a great year. That's why everybody like to have a kid born on that year, because somehow the pig is very lucky because it's born into the end of the cycle when you get all the rewards. So yes, whatever you manage to pass or achieve or improve or put in a new form, prepare the new platform, the rewards are coming in 2019. And yes, so water is all about moving, I said so. And the peak itself is also so called a travel star. So it's really a time of travel. There will be a lot going on about transport, travel, distribution, everything that moves, even flying to the moon or Mars. So there is no limitation for the Earth peak, because Earth peak is also a lot about new things, because it's exploring like all the um, all the beautiful islands that are now populated were discovered. They found them. The very adventurous, curious people went into unknown to find paradise. So do you feel the the feeling of it? You have to move, you have to be adventurous, you have to be open and explore, and you will find your paradise. But of course, as I said, the Earth peak likes to work. So it's not about some kind of bohemian party, I don't know, type of the year. It's enjoying a normal everyday and is exploring the opportunities the life gives you. So anyhow, it's really time to travel. So many of you, wanting it or not, will travel. But those who are slower to travel, uh, it will happen. I mean, it doesn't need to be always far, but it will happen. And if, maybe you have to start planning, because for everyone, travel will bring a lot of uh, interesting things, a lot of new things. It's like, it's better to move with the wave than wait stiff to hit you. No? So that's the idea. You want to catch the right wave and keep yourself on the top of the wave. We will talk about the balance. And yes, what a strange photo, because Earth peaks are, as I said before, in a way very open and very accepting of everything and very curious. They never stop looking around, checking. That's why they like art, they like unusual things. So it's a lot about being adapting to whatever situation, to whatever point of view, to whatever opportunity, as I said before, being very flexible. So as I said, because it's a earth peak, so it's like a yin earth, and yin earth character is being multi-talented, having all kind of variety of talents. So, and being very flexible, being very keen to, and quick in learning anything in their time. So all this also brings, and it's never enough. There's always more to explore. There's always more to try. So this is the spirit of this year. And yeah, even pigs can fly. Maybe they will never say no. So you see, it's this kind of openness to all the opportunities, even the most impossible. The more open you are, the more you can uh, allow it, the more abundance you can experience. And then, as I said, we will. I mentioned the balance already. So, as I described before, it's like looking and waiting for the big wave, and then once you're on the wave, like a surfer, you want to keep on top, and you allow the wave to bring you far, far. So, or further on. So this year is really about going. We can go very far. So, like last year, we couldn't get anywhere, or everything was really hard work, or additional work, or the work we already did. We have to do it again. Uh, but it's all about being able to keep balance. What does it mean? It means many things. It's balance between, so as I mentioned before, the water, among other things, is also emotions. It's also wisdom. So after all this time, we were lacking 5 years of what I call wisdom. Um, so it's being wise about things, and not losing the floor. I mean, because the water is like taking away the earth, it's this feeling of losing the floor underneath you. But the point is about accepting and going with the flow. So, and how we can do that is by keeping the balance between everything. So, as I mentioned before, the Earth peak has so many talents and options, and it's never enough, and always exploring. But again, it should not turn into some kind of greediness, or some kind of always hungry for something. There should always be also a feeling of achievement and content and fulfillment. So it's in a way the balance between, uh, it's about feeling your heart and feeling what you really want, what is your soul, hearing yourself, and balancing that with the things that are coming your way. If you want too much to swim, it will not make a difference. It will anyway, it's stronger than you. So the water. So so it's about floating, and it's about like catching the wave and then being in the balance. So not getting too excited, not getting too scared. I mentioned the emotions, but like to find way. I mean, whoever learned surfing knows exactly. So it's that thing. And then when I talk about balance, it's a balance about many things. So it's also because the water energy is also the energy of sexuality. So it's either lust, or is it healthy way of sexual energy. So there will be also a lot about the balance between feminine and masculine. So the feminine energy, women have these moods going up and down. No, they're like the tide. So that's why it's very feminine. It's feminine way of functioning. So having the balance between the male and female, between yin and yang as well. Okay. Yeah, so just to continue, if the last year was about karma versus forgiveness, if you remember, we talked that it was a year of um, ancestral karma. So if you remember, it's a lot about digging, and it was about a lot about like clearing and getting free of all the what I called karma. But remember, I said in the beginning, the pig is very easygoing and it's very forgiving. So that's why we reach forgiveness in general. So like it's easy to forgive. There's not much of resentment. And also if the pig gets angry, and it does get, but it doesn't keep it. It goes too quickly. She forgets. So I would say this year is about like self-blame versus self-acceptance. So when we really, and because I talked about the balance, so if we manage to, so it's about duality, when we really can accept our, let's say, our shadow or our dark side, same way as we accept your our good side, let's say. This is real love. This is real self-love. And then on the other hand, because there is always something, you know, we always are, this both self-blame and self-pity are both the topic of last few years, the victim consciousness. So, and either self-pity, I'm so poor, so many things are always happening to me. Oh, this pig is drifting me away, or I don't know, it's going too fast. Yeah, I like that. I have too many things to do. This is too much for me. No, it's always, we can always find a way to be overwhelmed or to be a victim of something. So it's either that, or it's really like embracing yourself. Even like if you do everything wrong, just be forgiving to yourself at that very moment. And swim with it, swim with whatever comes. So it's like if um, if the shipwreck happens, no, it's not time for self-pity. It's just like the best you can do, and it's fine because there is a paradise. That's the year of when you can find your amazing island. And also, if you're alone first on this island, you know, there's Robinson Crusoe, that you can find food, you can build your house, you can do all kind of things, and sooner or later somebody else will come there and so on. I'm a bit exaggerating, or but it's about that. It's about accepting yourself. So on one hand, it does come also, but by accepting the situation, and I will make a step further. So it's really allowing yourself to be you and allowing yourself to enjoy being you. So when you can have that, and this is how you come to the abundance, you can have it when you experience self-acceptance and when you embrace yourself completely. And it can start now because the earth peak, as I said, goes very quickly. So as I said, either we are self-pity, everything is happening, everything is pushing us, everything is too much, you know? So it's by accepting everything that is not you. This is also a step of accepting who you are. So that's in a way a bigger topic. I mean, the undercurrent of this year, because actually the Earth peak year is very frank, very into the face, because in the end everything comes out, you know, to the shore of the water. If I make a metaphor, so nothing can really be hidden. So better start accepting everything you are, because as I said, water is also symbolizing the emotions, and they, wherever you don't feel good about yourself, wherever you blame yourself, wherever you uh, you don't trust yourself, you will uh, you will have to see it. It will come out. So you will have opportunity to practice self-love, which is um, first of all forgiveness, and then patience, a lot of patience, no? And just knowing, also if you didn't yet learn how to swim or surf, you're moving, it's happening, you're getting there. Do you remember how to get to this beautiful island where everything is there? Exactly that way. So, and yes, this year, as it went through past few years, where the year 2017 was a lot about like uh, self, me, because the rooster is very pretty and it's all about self-obsession and ego. And then the last year was start, so it's all about me. So that the year of the dog was starting to take care about the community and the pack of the dog. And this year is really about like how do you accept yourself, same as you care about your family, about your friends. We are all the same. It's like we all swim in the same ocean. And that's why I would say it's a chance to really experience universal love, or whatever we call it. It's unconditional love. On the It's possible. And yeah, I know it all sounds like we're starting like it sounds a bit hippie, and it's really not in that way. It's not like completely um, overdone. No, the earth is a controlling element for the water. So it's in a very rational and conscious way. That's why I said that it's a year of consciousness, because actually certain things, new things are already coming in through new technologies, and the consciousness is changing because the life is changing. And we will take a look further. So things that we couldn't, for example, anyone who was born after the internet started has a completely different understanding of the world. They cannot imagine what it means when there is no Uncle Google, you know? So it's completely different. You can get knowledge, you can get it like easily at every second. Before we carried all these big books, you know? So if nothing else, I mean, so I'm trying to say, and now it's another. So it's like, because I said it's the last animal of the 12 animals, and it's really a rewarding time and celebration and going further. So the consciousness is changing. Oh yes, of course, as I said, it will not just happen overnight, just like that, and it's not just easy and so on. There's a lot of balancing to happen, and here are the hot topics, and you can see there are many, because Pig is interested in everything and cares about everything and wants everything good and new and of a quality, and it's hardworking and wants things to be done, and it's appreciating things. So first I wrote augmented reality, artificial intelligence, blockchain. All of these, no, doesn't matter how much you know it or not, is definitely changing the life, the everyday life of us, wanting it or not. Somebody say, oh, it can be bad, it can be abused, it can be. So the last year was more about the ethical part, and there was a lot about privacy and new regulations. And I said last year, Google and Facebook, I wrote it, and you know, there were many things. They are paying fines, the Facebook story, you know, the Zuckerberg and so on. So things are being regulated. So this, because it was taking over a little bit. And this year, it's a lot about the new technology. And because, for example, blockchain, no matter how many times people explain it to me, at that moment, I really understand it and I really, really like it. But like 2 days later, I cannot really repeat it. It's because it's forming this kind of new technology, new kind of thinking, new kind of, it's still developing itself, but it's forming a different way of life, of functioning, of connecting, of the structure that we didn't have before. So it's automatically bringing different life for us, different life experience, this different consciousness through it. So the same artificial intelligence that will, many people say a lot of jobs will be gone because of artificial intelligence. But of course, people get scared. Oh, I will lose a job. Yes, this year it can be. Many people will lose a job. But it's the new consciousness, that level of consciousness that humanity is going, is that, like back so many years ago, before industrial revolution, people were working hard every day on the field or in the factory and so on, and then it came in. So the idea is that we go further, that we don't need to work. So maybe we seriously will not work very soon. Yeah, I know, we don't know what we will be doing, but first we will anyway come to the island for a year. So let's learn how to enjoy, because when we can enjoy everything we do in the here and now, and this is what I wanted to say before with the balance. So it's also the balance about the future and the past is actually to be here and now, and this is also what this year is about. So augmented reality is like literally changing our reality. So I don't know how much people know about it or not. People who are more into games, they may be more familiar with that, but it's becoming part of our world. So I'm here with you. I mean, this is already in a way a bit like that. And there are other things around me which are not visible, but they are here, they're real. So, this merging of the two worlds, so the computer and that one. So some people find it horrible, but on the other hand, if we know it, if we know how to use it, it's not horrible. It's just changing the way we live. So this is where, we stick very much. If we stick very much to the old, to the traditional, then this year is going to be very hard because it's going to go very quick. And then I wrote food, distribution of goods. So as I said, it's water and there is wood. And so there will be a lot about the food in the sense, either new ways of food, and there's all kinds of things like eating insects or proteins from the insects. And so like something really a lot going on about food, the distribution. Of course, there will probably also be problems. And that's why there will be a new way, either of transporting, or I don't really know, I'm not so much into that, but I'm sure there's already a lot of new technologies also around that industry. And this will become quite used in this year. Then I wrote transport, connectivity, tourism, traveling. As I said before, it's about moving, traveling one way or the other. So this will also be a very, very important topic, and it can be that we will experience different type of transport. We know that there's a lot has been tested, and this can be a breakthrough year for it. Then I wrote psychology, education, children. So there will be a lot. Children will be a topic because it's, as I said, it's a family-orientated year. So there will be concern about how to educate children. So also by use of the new technologies, but also education has to change. Education has to, it always goes together with the change of the consciousness. This will be a big topic. And psychology is here because one way or another, so emotions, psychology, understanding human needs, understanding the maybe we kind of didn't care and we become too like robots, but this year will bring the somehow the importance to our emotions and understanding of emotions or the attitude around it more forward. Then, of course, it's an important year about oceans and awareness about oceans, pollution, um, everything that has, so not just oceans, but also waters as such, uh, everything that has to do with nature, sustainability, because you know, like the island, as I describe it, it's self-sufficient in a way. It can be. So it's really finding a way when things are sustainable, when there are that there is a whole cycle, like the island has its whole cycle. Yes, it's an unusual list, I know. And then I wrote stock market and banking system. So just by the blockchain technology, a lot of these that I'm already can change, because it's not just about bitcoins, it's about the whole system of the disperse of like nothing is, it's not so much about hierarchy, it's more about the horizontal connection between things and equal distribution and automatic. So it's not like you always need somebody in between. It just spreads. You know, it's like, you know, when the wave comes and it just like touches every single little sand on the beach. So this is the way this kind of new energy or thinking or understanding of life and is bringing. And let's say also the banking system. So I mean, there's a lot going on, and they're forbidding bitcoins in some countries. There are all kind of things going on with different currencies, which is like dollars and all these tensions, Russia, China, US, and so on. So all this, and they all talk, I don't know if you noticed, but all last year they're talking about the fear of recession. And yes, it can maybe even happen, the recession in the year of abundance. That's interesting, isn't it? But like, um, the thing is that I forgot to say one thing about the peak. So it likes everything good, but it's not a spender. It's not like spending crazy, being completely without control. So it's very conscious about what is doing. So why I was saying this is because actually this year people will consume less. They will not have this idea, oh, I need this, I need that, I need more. No, they will more be looking, how do they feel? The value is different. And so people will not be spending, and the countries will and governments will have to kind of boost the market. So when I say they're talking about recession, so they're trying to find a way, because the banking system, the way we know it, the way we live it for I don't know how many years now, is having an issue. It doesn't really function. I'm not so much into that, and it's really kind of collapsing. But also, recession doesn't just happen on its own. But somehow they are looking for new ways to continue to continue with it. So there will be adaptation. There will have to be, because if it's not, it will just be splashed away. So there will be different ways of, using money on a big and small scale. Or money can be something completely different than we know it by now. Because also the blockchain technology and bitcoins are also developing. So there is another generation coming. Then it's a very important year again for the pharmaceutical industries and healthcare, a lot of changes, a lot of how to say, not being satisfied with, and then on the other hand, inventions, because I said that the peak is all about new things. So all, and somehow the pharmaceutical industry, because I also wrote it further on, is also part of the addiction problem. And a lot of water in certain combination also represent addiction. So probably, because this topic is already out there, all this opioid abuse, there will also be some progress and changes in the way the pharmaceutical industry is functioning. I mentioned NGO and charities, and you probably, I don't know if you noticed, but like this was also the topic of the last year, because this is actually where all these, some of these things were already there last year, because this is where the dog was shaking things and digging and pulling it out, and now the water is coming to wash it away and clean it and make space and give a chance for new growth. So there were quite some big scandals from charity. Charities also come under the water. That's why it's going to be there. So on one way, the scandals uncover things and so on, but there will be new approaches, more conscious. So even people who donate will do it in a different way, will be more considerate of what they put money in, to make sure that what they donate is used appropriately. Then I wrote feminine energy is missing, that I already mentioned, sexuality, tantra. So somehow the approach towards sexuality, and further on pornography, sex exploitation. So because water is about fertility, is about reproduction, is about sex as well. And the year is about being considerate, and it's about being also open to things. So there will be change in the way we value or experience, or there will be, I'm not really sure what, but the sex will be quite a topic one way or the other. So pornography, sex exploitation, maybe there will be some changes, regulations, or making it, I don't know, in one way different. Also maybe augmented reality and all this kind of new technology might change that part of our life even more. Then I wrote addiction, yeah, and then I have guruism, so that's this word. So gurus and religions and beliefs, I somehow lost the word religion. There was supposed to be also religion. Because water represents the wisdom, as I said before, and spirituality is, it's a lot about the fire, and the two, the water is extinguishing the fire. So, but fire is good, and is like, it represents happiness and also joy. But on the other hand, if there is too much fire, which we had definitely for the last 5 years, it turns out to become fanatism or populism, what we really experience a lot. So it's like pushing an idea, exaggerating, just to make it popular, just to like, you know, give the spark and let it burn. So in that sense, we were lacking, and you witness it wherever you live, either Europe or US or other parts of the world. What means where there's too much fire and just like spreading the fire and the idea and the pushing it, no matter what their circumstances are. And when the wisdom comes in, when the rationality comes in, which is water. So I also, because I mentioned this now with the religions and so on, so also we experience a lot of from terrorism and all the stories that are going on. So a very fanatic situation in the religious world. So this is coming, wisdom is coming in, some kind of rationality. So either people will calm down about it, or also any kind of, because I said, no, it's like about spreading, about connectivity, about horizontal. The time of gurus and worshipping and all these kind of things is kind of moving away, and people start to see what I showed in the few slides away. They're starting to appreciate themselves. So they start to accept themselves. So they don't have this need to give the power out to others, either religion, a guru, a government, and so on and so on. So because it's the end of it's really a possibility to get out of the victim consciousness in one way or the another. In that moment when you do, you have all the abundance, because everything is there for you. You don't need to pay your bad karma, to suffer, to have abundance, to no, nothing. Everything is there. There is the sea of abundance is there for us all the time, and in that year we can reach it. So all these kind of things were also the addictions now. So we can be addicted to either even a guru or like a substance and so on. This is like putting your power, your responsibility for your life out of yourself, trying to not see things, to escape. So that's why this topic will be strong, and a lot will be happening. People will start seeing things differently and appreciating themselves much more, but in a positive way, a very constructive way. And immigration, that is a huge topic for a few years already. And this year, from how I already kind of describe it, you can imagine that most probably there will be more of bigger waves of immigration in different all around the world. And considering that this water is breaking the walls, things might change and get better, because somehow I didn't mention that the pig also wants safety for their family and friends. So the topic of safety in general will be much stronger this year as well. And yes, I can believe that everybody is questioning, what about Mr. Trump? So it's very interesting, because the year of the dog was a very unfavorable year for the current president of the United States, and somehow, yeah, he kept his position. And the coming year is actually, but there was of course a lot of, everybody knows that I don't need to talk about, and the coming year is actually quite favorable for him. So we should look at it in a different way, because he represents such an important and big country. We can expect that the country will do better. It will be much more harmonized, much more balanced. So it should be actually I don't know the scenario, but it should kind of get better. And if you remember, I mentioned the hanging man, the man that hangs by his feet down. So it can happen because Trump's chart has has the lack of water, and the year of water is very significant, and especially the last 5 years there was no water also in the year, and so his whole chart is lacking the water. So it can be that there can be some kind of flip happening, so the whole perspective will change one way or another. So for sure, considering it's such a big change for his chart as well, this water coming in, it means that there will be a change. And because it's kind of favorable to get water in the chart where there is no water, it means one way or another, this flip and change or shift and completely different view of everything will be for good. And the question of the wall, that is like the end of the year of the dog, was all about freezing the government. So it's like, you know, the dog is really holding. So the things were not moving. Personally, as I said, the water, you know, tsunamis. Tsunami can flatten. Unfortunately, there already some of them happen. Can do. There's nothing water cannot demolish. So it's most probably in the year of the dog, this could have happened, but I really doubt that there will be a way that it would happen in the year of the earth peak. And it's definitely, even in the symbolism of it, it's not the year of the walls. It's much more about connectivity. And the island, in a way, is isolated. But in the long term, to survive, it needs to connect. So this is for sure the topic of a new approach, new consciousness that is coming in. And you know, everybody was so eager to hear this webinar already. So like the whole world wants something better that we were going through. And this is already a sign that things are changing. We are collectively all connected, like there's no way that it cannot change. So here is also from the other years how I was saying that in 2018 there was rebuilding and new foundations, and in 2019 forming a new consciousness level, and it's based on unconditional love. So we really have a chance to go from what we call third chakra information about the year before the last year of Earth peak, which was in 1899. And guess what? They invented aspirin, which is a new, back then it was a new drug, but if you remember, it was used for so many, and it's still used today. And it was actually a very light way to help all kind of problems and elements. So then, interesting enough, that was the year of the first Hague Convention, which is all peace treaty. So further on, there were more of the conventions, and it's where the things started to, people start to organize, countries start to organize themselves to bring peace and agreements. And there was a year, this is the only information I could get, of great blizzard in US, and you will see further when I will talk about what we can expect from the nature. And then the year 1959 was, in my opinion, a very interesting year. And I didn't see that, I didn't check, I kind of forgot about it before I prepared everything else. And then I was so excited to find all this information. So the information is a little bit mixed by the topics, but they invented the microchip, the chip that the computers are based on, which you can imagine now it's very normal and we don't even know what is in the computer, but that's the start of computers. Then at the same time, I will just jump and go to Xerox, which is like, it's the start of the first copier, which is very significant, because I was saying it's like spreading, it's connecting, it's copying, it's going everywhere, and it becomes a very common. So this kind of transport or connectivity and so on can be in many forms. Then what is interesting is that Hawaii became the 50th state. So the Hawaii joined US, which is an island. It's a tropical island. And yeah, interesting enough, become part of US in that very year. At the same time, in the same year, Cyprus got independent from UK, another island country. Then I was talking about, and these I really found interesting. So, because I said that it's a lot about sex and how we look at it, experiencing it, and even like remembering through Tantra or other knowledges. So, in that year, this was the year where the first steps towards birth control pill happened. So they developed the birth control pill, which definitely put women in and women. I said it's a lot about femininity, and so it opened completely women into control of what is happening to their body. But on the other side, it's also about family, because family planning start to become possible. Then interesting, Fidel Castro, so another island country. Fidel Castro comes to power in Cuba, which is, was probably a very, very different consciousness back then, or for that. Yeah, it's an important part of the history. So it also happened in 1959. And something kind of similar, we don't know how it's gonna go, but is right now, and I'm not too familiar with any kind of details, but it's happening in Venezuela, country not so far away already at the moment. So some things that I talk today, they already start happening. Then the magnificent building of Guggenheim Museum was open, and it was a big, an important moment in art and architecture. And at first there was the only place that was having only abstract art. So there's a lot of change bringing in the art scene. Also, there was a lot about, I wrote Lady Chatterley's Lover. So it's about sexuality, romance, and love. So the traditional attitude, or the certain attitude of that time, had changed a lot, because such things would be censored before, and it was allowed in that year, which brought a big change in the way people I don't know, experience things. So through art, we definitely experience things, and the consciousness is being expressed. Also very interesting, and you will see later, it's the first time that they found HIV in a human, and it was in Congo. And I mentioned the religions before, and the changes and the guru and all these kind of things. And so there will be changes. I'm not saying exactly the ones that I mentioned before, but Dalai Lama flees Tibet in 1959. How interesting. So, I said the earth peak is considered as taking care, is preserving the family, like that. And then talking about the transport and all these new technologies again. So before I mentioned microchip and Xerox, and there was something with IBM, but I didn't really understand, or transistor, and that I found. But also Boeing 707 came into service, and this was the first trans-Pacific service was established by Cathay Pacific between Sydney and San Francisco, if I remember right. So, and additionally, all the long, many flights got much, much, much shorter. So we can expect something in that direction as well. And there was a major flood in Taiwan when like 2,000 people died, and Typhoon Kontera in Japan where 5,000 people died. So I kind of, this slide is not in the right location, but I will talk about the natural disasters that we have to be careful. And then international agreement to preserve Antarctica. So I will come back to that later. So maybe I just, oops. This slide should come later on, but nevertheless, I will now talk about the industries. So metal industries are going through major changes, and I already mentioned that. So metal industries are definitely banks and financial sector, but as well the car industry, the gold, anything that has to do with metal. And then they're going through major changes. So the value of other metals, not just golds, will probably also change. I mentioned this last year, and this is still, this aspect is still strong. So water industries are blossoming. It shouldn't be again. It's after a longer time. So water industries are blossoming after a long time. And what are water industries? Is everything that I mentioned. So everything that is water related, everything that is transport related, shipping, catering, cleaners, everything that has to do with hygiene, then pharmaceutical industry, psychiatry. So all this kind of, and consulting, any kind of consulting. And there's of course more. And then wood industries are doing good if using it. So the wood industries will do good if there's new technologies are used, and the wood industries are everything that has to do with the wood, which is from furniture, textile, then publishing, books, then education. I already mentioned the school system. Then the healthcare. Healthcare is between water and wood. Also the hotels and hospitality businesses. So all this can really blossom, but if they go into some new direction or add some new technologies. And then earth industries are not stable. So the earth, when we talk about earth, we mostly talk about property business, real estate business, and constructions, and so on. So actually, the first half of the year is quite stable, and then the second half of the year it's less. But it doesn't mean it's bad. It's just unpredictable. And the fire industry is going through transformation. So the fire is actually still very strong this year. But yeah, there's a lot of, it's quite some transformation. So fire industries are everything that has to do with entertainment, beauty, then right now, yeah, also religion is kind of a business. Let's say spirituality, it's a better word. So through transformation, it's meaning, as I mentioned before, there needs to be a use of wisdom or rationality in it, and this will affect the fire industries. Then the health. There is a lot about poisoning next year, one way or the other. So I mean, from food poisoning, other type of poisoning. Then, as I said, because things are happening very quick and unpredictable many times, there is a bigger, and it's all about a lot about traveling. So the accidents can be all kind of accidents from small to big. But in this case, for the health, we have to be careful with accidents at sports and similar activities. Then infectious diseases. So the peak year always brings more epidemics. And you saw it, no? How they found about HIV the first time in the human 60 years ago. So, and then the topics is also a lot about emotional issues and hormonal misbalance. So, yeah, this is actually be one of the largest problems. And if we look at the organs, is stomach, spleen, glands. Stomach and spleen were already last year. Glands, kidneys. Kidneys are the water element. Ears and joints. So everything that has to do, and it's connected. Some people know Chinese medicine a little bit more, but these are the organs that are more prone to have problems. And water and earth many times mean cancer. So it's like muddy water. I mean, it's young water, so it's not too strong, but yeah, the cancer is still the topic this year. It was already last year. Yes, the natural disasters. So we all experienced quite some shocking weather all around for a few years already, although the year of earthquake could be a lot about weather issues. So if you imagine the island, everything is perfect, everything is beautiful, there is abundance. One thing that is not easy to control, or is the threat, is like a really bad weather. And this actually, I would just go a step back. It's in general, like the atmosphere, the situation around us can turn into very bad, so like a very bad storm. So what do? We just close in, wait to pass. So this is also the instruction how to deal the year. So if the things get too unfavorable, then just wait. Just wait. Don't try to change things, because when the water energy comes in, like a tornado or tsunami, make sure you're somewhere high, which means like don't go low in your emotions, in negativity, and wait, and then it will pass. But okay, let's go to the natural disaster. So first of all, of course, floods, snow avalanches, so anything that has to do with water, from big cold and freezing. And yesterday I was not aware of the amazing cold in in US. I never heard of such low temperatures. And then tsunamis and hurricanes, and then yeah, everything that has to do with too much water. But then when it's, just to explain that, where somewhere in the planet is like such an extreme with the water, then somewhere else there it will cause a drought and lack of water. So we can still expect droughts, but on different areas than the years before, the last 5 years, which were very strong with fire. So then water contaminations, water supply, for some reason, one way or another, there will be could be issue with water. Then major agricultural issues like new disease for plants or for the animals, transportation issues, damage because the whole harvest will be damaged. So yeah, these can be expected because that's also part of the energy of that year. And then still possibility of earthquakes, which was very strong last year, slides, and yes, any kind of environmental poisonings like chemical gas or glass explosions. Yeah, I mean, a lot of disasters already uh, is happening these last few years, and this is some kind of still should be a more balancing year, but at least there will be more consciousness about it, and something will be done around global warming and climate change. So if we look at the months, when I was talking about good and bad things, although we said there must be a balance, May and November are actually the months where we can expect more of unfortunate things. February, March, and July should be quite stable and pleasant months, and the first half of the year is the energies are more comfortable and, let's say, easier than the second half of the year. So relationships, because the peak, as I said, is about parties and it's about gatherings and it's about good time. There will be a lot of weddings and celebrations, and we should really participate in as many as possible, because somehow the way we live, we forget to celebrate. We're just always after something, and I said, like, we have to, like, if there's this kind of greediness and it's never enough and we are always somewhere more, so not here, we miss the celebration moment. And what is celebration? Is the moment of receiving, is the moment of rewards. It's very important. It can be either a big celebration or small, but just make sure you participate. And yeah, so the relationships, the year is good for the people born in the year of dragon and rabbit and actually goat. It's missing, so also very good for the goats. in the sense of finding a new partner, then it's not good for oxen and roosters. It's not that there's like nothing going on, because for each person there will be quite something going on in the relationship area, but it's or socializing, if nothing, but it's more about finding the right person, or like a similar thinking person. And there's I said the water brings a lot of energy that is also sexual. There is expected to be a higher rate of adultery as well. The year is most prosperous for people born in the year or the day of rat, horse, and monkey, and more challenging year for snakes, especially people with the snake in the day. The pig and the snake, they clash, so it can be quite challenging. And also ox and a dog. If your personal element is wood, fire, metal, water, earth, so just at the end of the webinar, you can see my website where you can calculate all these things. So if your personal element is wood, the topic of the year will be study, learning, learning in one way or another, maybe academic success, and quite some focus on health. If you're born as a fire personal element, the year will be about exploring the power and dealing with limitations. So how to how to find the balance between the two. And then people born in the element of metal will have a very creative year, and they will be very creative, but should be um, um, careful to not get too emotional or too excited or too anything too much. So the water element people are the year's going to be about connecting, finding likewise like thinking similar people, networking, and it's very good for reputation and popularity. And then the earth people will be a lot about money and wealth, and for them it will be a tiny bit easier to reach the abundance. So this is just like in general. And this year I added the Feng Shui influences of the peak Earth peak year. So here is a map. Don't get too stressed from it, but I will just explain. If your entrance is in sector west or southwest.
Aleksandra, you're talking about the entrance to your house?
Yes. Entrance, yes, thank you. So you just need to know where is the entrance of your house. Once you put a floor plan and you measure, so in which of the sectors, is it south, is it southeast? So according to that, you can read what the year will bring or what will be the topic. So in general, these are the red ones are the unfortunate ones, and the green ones are the good ones. The same goes where you sleep. Which room do you sleep? But let's look back. So if your entrance is in northeast, the year can be problematic regarding the health. So pay more attention. It doesn't mean that necessarily that will be very, very very problematic, but pay attention to the health, pay attention to the food, nutrition, and immune system. So if first I'm talking about the less fortunate influences on the feng shui. So if your house entrance is at southeast, here's written robbery and deceit. So the number 7 is the number for the energy. It represents the specific energy that also means that you can easily be robbed, or somebody just take something from you, or there's some kind of fraud. So it's important just to take care that everything, your belongings are well insured, that you have a good lock on the house, but it can be anywhere. It doesn't need to be directly in the house. And also to be careful with the legal papers. So anything you sign, just be like extra careful. So just that this influence brings that kind of problems. So the south entrance brings arguments. So usually people in such a year get a bit more quick to get in an argument. But this star and this energy also brings possibility for those who cannot express their need, who cannot express, who are bullied or anything like that, so they can finally get their voice. So it's not an absolutely bad. As well as number 7 is not bad, necessarily bad for the businesses. So I'm talking in a very general way. And then is this star that is the worst star of the year, but every year it takes, it comes to one of the 9 locations. And this year is in southwest. And if your door is in the southwest, it can mean you probably will very soon, or you already did, start to feel that things are problematic. And in that case, I would suggest to ask for advice how to mitigate that star. So it's quite a dangerous star because it influences every sector, from health to finances to relationships. So it's this, if you find, if you realize that your interest in southwest, or that your bed is in southwest, either that's the only star where it's really important that you look for a feng shui advice. But try to never sleep in the southwest. Change the room and sleep somewhere else. So in general, if you manage to sleep in any of the green colored areas, you will do quite well. So this is a very general overview of the feng shui as well. Every year I also write a much more detailed book with all the mitigations and activations for feng shui of every year. So you can it's an ebook, so you can still buy it on my website. In case you see or you got scared. So it's not about being scared, it's just to try to adjust your so because we are preparing for the year, so the environment as well influence how the year will be. Okay, that, I think that would be all. I wish you all a happy and joyful big year.
Aleksandra, do you have a link where people can check their own elements?
So it's actually on dragongate.com. If you go to Badze calculation, you can calculate your element, and it's under the day. the element that's under day. So we have year, month, day, and hour element.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Aleksandra. Before we go, I'd just like to recommend that Aleksandra does a personal destiny reading where you can find out about your own elements. Do you want to stop the screen share, Aleksandra?
One second. I don't know how.
At the top, there should be just a little red thing that says,
oh, yeah.
yeah. So
okay.
Aleksandra, she does a destiny reading where you can find out about your own elements, so your own personal energy and how that influences your life and how you can make the most of the strengths and opportunities that you have in your life, and you can also mitigate the weaknesses that are in your energy. I basically recommend all my private clients, or I actually take them usually personally to Aleksandra to do a destiny reading. So if you haven't done that before and you want to learn more about yourself, it is so enlightening. People are amazed when they come away from it. So I really recommend that if you've never done it before. It's cost $280, which I think is the most remarkable value. And if you have done it before, you can do an update, which costs less, but you can do a reading just for this year. So how your energy fits with this year's energy. And I know that many people who are more successful and more wealthy, shall we say, will do an annual reading every year so that they can really make sure that they understand the energy of the year for them, because our own personal energy mixes with the energy of the year, and it's that combination that is where the rubber really meets the road for you personally. So I really want to recommend what she does. I think her work is fantastic, and I love to take clients to it because I often go there myself, so I hear all the details about them, and it helps me as a coach, and I've found it extremely helpful for everybody who does it. The other thing is that I want to mention is, because of this particular nature of the year, keep an eye out for my messages about the consciousness of money. This year is clearly the year for the consciousness of abundance and the consciousness of money. So that's a program that I'm running with 2 other people in many different locations this year, and also online. And it does seem to very much match the energy of this year. So if you're interested in expanding your consciousness very much in line with this year, that would be a good thing to be looking out for. So I'd like to say a very big thank you to you, Aleksandra, for doing this again. And it's so interesting for me because I'm watching all the time what's happening, and I'm really seeing that energy come through. So it'll be very interesting to see how the year progresses from there. So thank you. Thank you to everybody who came. Some of you very early in the morning, I know, and some of you later in the evening. It's great to see you here. And we'll be back next year.